Hello all, welcome back to Current Affairs Settled series. I'm Guna Mathivanan from Officers IAS Academy. In this video, we are going to discuss another important headless topic that is regarding Montreal Protocol. Friends, from sun, we get a lot of radiations. One such radiation is the UV radiation. There are three types of UV rays: UVA, UVB, UVC. This UVA has a longer wavelength, UVB has a relatively shorter wavelength, and UVC is going to have even more shorter wavelength. This UVA will be reaching the Earth's surface, but it's okay. This UV ray is not harmful, so there is no problem in reaching the Earth's surface. But however, this UVB and UVC is very harmful. The good thing about UVC is it will be completely filtered. It will be completely filtered in the atmospheric layers before it reaches the Earth's surface. But however, the UVB, almost 97% is filtered, but 3% is going to reach the Earth's surface. Right? But we have a ozone layer in the stratosphere. So in the stratosphere part of our atmosphere, we have ozone layer. That ozone layer will prevent this harmful radiation entering the Earth's surface. However, we use certain substances in our refrigerators, in our air conditioners. That substances is actually destroying this ozone layer. For example, chlorofluorocarbon, which is a very common cooling agent. Now, this chlorofluorocarbon has chlorine atoms. These chlorofluorocarbon, when it is released in the atmosphere, the chlorine atoms will go and destroy the ozone layer. If the ozone layer, if it is getting destroyed, what is the consequence? Then this UVB, the harmful radiations, will enter the Earth's surface through that depleted zone. So if this is going to be ozone layer, if this entire thing is ozone layer, but if there is going to be some gaps, if there is going to be some gaps, let's say there's some gaps. So there is some gaps. So through these some gaps, if the harmful radiation is going to enter the Earth's surface, then the consequence is going to be irreparable. These harmful radiation can cause skin cancer. These harmful radiation can cause blindness. So presence of this ozone layer in our stratosphere is very important, or else we will be facing huge consequences. So keeping this in mind, in the year 1985, UN organized a meeting which resulted in a convention called as Vienna Convention. Vienna Convention. Right? So Vienna Convention 1985 is related to protection of our ozone layer. Under this Vienna Convention, in 1987, a protocol, an agreement was signed, and that agreement was Montreal Protocol. So this Montreal Protocol is related to phasing out of ozone depleting substances. This Montreal Protocol, so this Montreal Protocol is regarding, which was signed in 1987. This is regarding phasing out of ozone depleting substances. Both developed countries and developing countries should phase out. So under the Montreal Protocol, a list of substances which is depleting the ozone layer was provided. Say for example, chlorofluorocarbon is one such substance in the list. Now, the developing countries and the developed countries, they have to phase out these list of ozone depleting substances. Almost, every country, every UN member, they ratified this Montreal Protocol. Montreal Protocol was ratified unanimously, right, by all the UN members. A universal ratification was witnessed with respect to Montreal Protocol. Now, to replace this chlorofluorocarbon, a new substance was introduced which is called as hydrochlorofluorocarbon, HCFC. This HCFC, which came as a replacement to the CFC, but still this HCFC is also an ozone depleting substance, and this HCFC is also a potential global warming gas, right? So this HCFC, which came as a replacement to CFC, but that is again an ozone depleting substance, and adding to that, it is a global warming agent. Huge potential for global warming. So the developed countries, they said we will phase out this HCFC completely by 2020, and developing countries, they said we will phase out by 2030, right? So what we have to know from here, hydrochlorofluorocarbon, which came as a replacement to the chlorofluorocarbon, which is again causing ozone depletion, which is also causing global warming. So the developed and developing countries, they said by 2020 and 2030, developed and developing will phase out the production of this HCFC. Now, to replace this HCFC, a new substance was introduced, that is the hydrofluorocarbon. So hydrofluorocarbon is not an ozone depleting substance, so it solved one problem. HFC is not an ozone depleting substance. It solved one problem, but it is a potential global warming substance. It is a potential global warming substance. It can cause global warming 15,000 times more than that of carbon dioxide. That much global warming potential this hydrofluorocarbon has. Right? Now, can we do away with HFC? But that's a difficult, there's a problem, because Montreal Protocol is speaking about only ozone depleting substances. Hydrofluorocarbon is not a ozone depleting substances. So under Montreal Protocol, we cannot say that we should phase out HFC. That is not possible. So in 2016, an amendment was proposed. For what? To add this hydrofluorocarbon in the list of substances under the Montreal Protocol, because the Montreal Protocol in general will remove ozone depleting substances, but hydrofluorocarbon is not an ozone depleting substance, but it has a huge potential of global warming. So this Montreal Protocol was amended in 2016. Why? A special case to include the phasing out of HFC also. So this amendment was proposed in the 28th Conference of Parties. Conference of Parties means those countries which have signed the Montreal Protocol are called as parties. Their meeting is called as Conference of Parties. In the 28th Conference of Parties, which was held in Kigali, which is in Rwanda, an African country, Rwanda, which is present in Rwanda. Kigali is present in Rwanda. In Kigali, there was a Conference of Parties of this Montreal Protocol. So in that, the amendment was proposed. As per the amendment, HFC is also added in the list which has to be phased out. Right? So as per the Kigali amendment, developed countries, they will be phasing out the usage production of this hydrofluorocarbon by 85% in 2036. So by 2036, let's take America. By 2036, they will reduce their HFC production and consumption by 85%. Right? What about developing countries? Different countries has different target. If you take India, India agreed to reduce the usage of HFC by 85% in 2047. So what we have to know is there is a common responsibility but differential target. Developed countries, they have to phase out 85% of hydrofluorocarbon by 2036. Developing countries, they have to do it by 2047. Right? This is about Kigali Amendment. This is about Kigali Amendment. This Kigali Amendment came into force in 2019 itself. The amendment came into force in 2019. Now, why it was in news? Gulf Cooperation Council. Gulf Cooperation Council. Gulf Cooperation Council is a group of 6 countries sharing boundaries with Persian Gulf. Right. So Gulf Cooperation Council is a group of 6 countries sharing boundary with the Persian Gulf. It is a political cum economic union. These 6 countries have now ratified this Kigali Amendment. They also said, okay, we will also reduce the HFC by a particular date. So GCC have ratified this amendment. That's why it was in news. Alright. So whatever we have discussed, I have given here about Montreal Protocol, about hydrofluorocarbon, about the HFC, about the Kigali Agreement, So why it was in news? So Gulf Cooperation Council members, they ratified the Kigali Amendment to the protocol. That's why it was in news. Remember Kigali Agreement was signed in 2016. Right? By 2019 itself, it was ratified by 130 countries, so it came into force. So 130 countries, they agreed, and now Gulf Cooperation Council have agreed. That's why it was in news. Right? So this Kigali Amendment, when every country, if they are going to reduce this hydrofluorocarbon by 85%, then that will help us to reverse our global warming. That will help us to reduce our temperature by 0.5 degrees Celsius, 0.4 to 0.5 degrees Celsius by the end of this century. Right? So it is very, very significant, very important. So I hope you got some clarity on this topic. So I will see you tomorrow with another important, interesting topic. Till then, bye. Take care.